What happens when a 21-year-old from a country most people can't find on a map steps onto the Olympic track and does something no African has ever done before? What if I told you that one single race would make an entire nation declare a national holiday? What if I told you this young man was running not just for gold, but for his deceased mother who never got to see him compete on the world's biggest stage? You think you know what happened next? Think again. We're talking about Letsile Tebogo from Botswana, a name that went from complete unknown to legend in just 19.46 seconds. But here's the question that's gonna blow your mind. How does a kid from one of the smallest countries in Africa become the first African to ever win Olympic gold in the men's 200 meters? Paris Olympics 2024, the men's 200-meter final. The entire world is watching. In lane 6, we have this 21-year-old kid from Botswana, a country most people couldn't even point out on a map before this moment. His name? Letsile Tebogo. And he's about to do something that has never been done before in Olympic history. The gun goes off, and from the very first step, you could see something special was about to happen. Tebogo exploded out of those blocks like his life depended on it. Coming around that curve, he was absolutely flying. Smooth, powerful, and completely in control. The home stretch opened up in front of him, and that's when the magic happened. 19.46 seconds, let that sink in for a moment. 19.46 seconds to become the first African athlete ever to win Olympic gold in the men's 200 meters. Not just the first from Botswana, the first from the entire African continent. This wasn't just a personal victory. This was a continental breakthrough that shattered barriers and rewrote the history books. But here's what makes this even more incredible. This wasn't just about breaking records. This was about a young man carrying the hopes and dreams of an entire nation on his shoulders and delivering when it mattered most. Botswana had never won an Olympic gold medal before. Can you imagine that pressure? Can you imagine being 21 years old and knowing that your entire country is counting on you to make history? Now, what makes Tebogo's story even more powerful is the personal tragedy he overcame to get to this moment. Just months before the Olympics, Tebogo lost his mother, the woman who had been his biggest supporter, his rock, his inspiration throughout his athletic journey. In interviews leading up to the games, you could see the pain in his eyes when he talked about her. She never got to see him compete at the Olympics. She never got to witness her son make history on the world's biggest stage. But you know what? He carried her memory with him every step of the way, and after crossing that finish line in first place, he dedicated his victory to her. That level of emotional strength, that ability to channel grief into greatness, that's what separates champions from everyone else. Tebogo didn't just run for himself that day, he ran for his mother, for his family, for his entire country. And somehow, that made him faster, stronger, and more determined than ever before. The technical aspects of his race were absolutely flawless. His start was explosive, his curve running was textbook perfect, and his home stretch kick was simply unstoppable. But it was the heart, the emotion, the pure determination that made this performance truly legendary. If you think the race itself was emotional, wait until you hear about what happened when Tebogo returned home to Botswana. Thousands upon thousands of people gathered at the airport in Gaborone, the capital city. We're talking about families, elderly citizens, young kids, basically the entire country showing up to welcome home their hero. President Mokgweetsi Masisi was so excited that he declared an impromptu half-day holiday for the entire nation. Can you imagine your president being so pumped about your achievement that he literally gives everyone the day off to celebrate? That's the level of impact we're talking about here. But here's my favorite part. The president himself was out there dancing on the tarmac while someone held an umbrella to shade him from the sun. Traditional dancers in animal skins were performing with drums beating in the background. The entire scene was like something out of a movie. The national flag was waving everywhere you looked, and you could feel the pure joy and pride radiating from every single person there. This wasn't just an airport pickup. This was a national celebration of epic proportions. The atmosphere was absolutely electric, and you could see how much this meant to everyone. For a country that had never tasted Olympic gold before, this moment was everything. But wait, there's more. Tebogo didn't just stop at individual glory, he also helped Botswana secure a silver medal in the men's 4x400-meter relay, bringing their total Olympic medal count to 4. This guy was single-handedly putting his country on the global athletics map. The government's response was incredible too. President Masisi announced that Tebogo would receive 2 houses as a reward for his historic achievements. 2 houses! And each member of the relay team would get 1 house each. That's how you show appreciation for athletic excellence right there. This kind of recognition shows just how much Tebogo's success means to Botswana. We're not just talking about prize money or a pat on the back. We're talking about life-changing rewards that reflect the life-changing impact of his performance. What makes Tebogo's achievement even more significant is what it represents for African athletics as a whole. For decades, African athletes have dominated long-distance running. The marathons, the 5,000 meters, the 10,000 meters. But the shorter, more explosive events, those have traditionally been dominated by athletes from other continents. Tebogo's victory signals a major shift in that narrative. His success is contributing to Africa's growing presence in shorter Olympic events, reflecting the continent's rising competitive edge beyond just the distance races. We're seeing African sprinters becoming more and more competitive on the global stage, and Tebogo is leading that charge. This isn't just about one athlete or one country anymore. This is about an entire continent stepping up and showing the world that African speed is real, African power is undeniable, and African excellence knows no boundaries. Fast forward to 2025, and guess what? Tebogo is still absolutely unstoppable. In his recent Diamond League appearance in Doha, he proved that his Olympic success wasn't a fluke. Running 20.10 seconds in his 200-meter Diamond League debut, he showed the world that he's not slowing down anytime soon. What I love about his Doha performance is that it wasn't perfect. He actually made a small mistake by glancing over his shoulder to check on his competition in the final meters. That split-second glance almost cost him the race, but he still managed to surge forward and grab victory. That shows you the level of talent and instinct we're dealing with here. In the post-race interview, Tebogo was refreshingly honest about his mistake, saying he didn't think the race would be that close and promising no looking back next time. That kind of self-awareness and ability to learn from mistakes is what keeps champions at the top of their game. Can Tebogo continue dominating? At 21, he's inspiring young African athletes everywhere, proving greatness comes from anywhere. This kid didn't just win gold, he changed history and honored his mother's memory. What's your prediction? Will more Africans follow his footsteps in shorter events? Drop your thoughts below. Smash that like button, subscribe for more incredible athletics content, and hit notifications to never miss greatness.
So hard to try and give him a go there, but Tebogo draws clear now, and he's done it. 10/100ths of a second.
30.69 seconds. That's how long it took for a 20-year-old from Botswana to do what no one in history had done before, break the 300-meter world best. It happened so fast you might have missed it. But for those who saw it live at the Simbine Kuro Classic shootout in Pretoria, it was clear a new sprinting legend was being born. His name, Letsile Tebogo. And what he did that day didn't just break records, it broke expectations. Before this moment, the 300-meter wasn't exactly a marquee event. It sits awkwardly between the raw explosiveness of the 200 meters and the strategic endurance of the 400 meters. But that didn't matter. Tebogo made it look like the event was made for him. Smooth out of the blocks, effortless through the bend, and devastating on the home straight. By the time he crossed the finish line in 30.69 seconds, the stadium erupted. To understand how shocking this was, you need context. The previous world best was 30.81 seconds, set by Wade van Niekerk in 2017. Before him, names like Michael Johnson and Usain Bolt had touched this distance, and none had gone faster. That puts Tebogo in elite company, and he just blew past them. Born in Kanye, Botswana, Letsile Tebogo was already turning heads by his late teens. At 18, he was a World U20 champion. By 19, he was competing at World Championships. And now, at just 20, he's doing things athletes don't usually pull off until their prime. His rapid rise has defied every timeline and redefined what young talent looks like in track and field. But it's not just the times that make Tebogo special, it's how he runs them. Watch any of his races and you'll see the same thing. Calm, composed, and completely in control. There's no tension in his face, no wasted movement in his stride. Coaches say his biomechanics are years ahead of his age. And fans? They just know they're watching something rare. The 300-meter performance in Pretoria wasn't a fluke. It was the result of focused training, long-term planning, and an athlete who's mastered the balance between raw power and technical precision. Leading into the event, insiders had been whispering about Tebogo's insane training times, but nobody expected a world best. Not yet. When the race began, it was clear Tebogo wasn't holding anything back. The first 100 meters, blazing, the curve, controlled aggression, and the final stretch? That's where legends are made. With his chest forward and his form still intact, he surged past the line, stopping the clock at 30.69 seconds. A new era had officially begun. What makes this even more incredible is that Tebogo is still figuring out which distance suits him best. He's elite in the 100 meters, dangerous in the 200 meters, and now dominant in the 300 meters. Some experts believe he could challenge world records in both the 200 meters and 400 meters in the years to come. That kind of range is unheard of, even among the greats. The Pretoria race wasn't just about a time, it was about a shift in the sport. For too long, sprinting's top headlines belonged to the same handful of countries. But now, a new voice is breaking through, and it's speaking loud and clear from Botswana. Tebogo's success is a huge moment for African sprinting, a signal that the continent isn't just about distance runners anymore. In a recent interview with Al Jazeera, Tebogo reflected on his mission to break the Jamaican and American dominance in sprinting. "That's always been my goal, to snap their dominance," he said. "It was sad to see only two nations rule the sport for decades. I wanted to make a breakthrough for African athletes. I aspired to be the one to make it happen and then take in the world's response. And that reaction has been heartwarming." Of course, with fame comes pressure. After the race, media outlets across the globe lit up with headlines. Interviews, sponsorship calls, and public appearances followed. But Tebogo? He stayed cool. That mindset is what separates Tebogo. He's not chasing clout. He's chasing greatness, and he knows that takes more than one rarse. Since breaking the record, he's gone back to the grind, focusing on refining every detail. Sprinting is a game of milliseconds, and Tebogo is playing to win. There are rumors now about which events he'll focus on for the next Olympics, whether he'll challenge Michael Johnson's 400-meter record or even target Bolt's 200-meter mark. Nothing is confirmed, but here's what we know. Every time Tebogo steps onto the track, something electric happens. Even off the track, his influence is growing. Social media explodes with every post, and highlight reels of his 300-meter run have racked up millions of views. Kids across Africa are emulating his starts, his stride, his confidence. In a world desperate for new icons, Tebogo feels like the real deal. His sponsors have noticed too. Endorsement deals are coming in fast, but Tebogo is choosing carefully. Like everything else in his life, he's not rushing. He's building. His team has made it clear. Long-term growth over short-term gain. That kind of vision is rare and dangerous in the best way. It means Tebogo isn't just thinking about the next race. He's thinking about legacy, about becoming the face of a movement, about inspiring a generation of athletes who didn't even know this level was possible. What happened in Pretoria was more than a record. It was a message. To every young runner watching, to every underdog training without the fancy facilities, to every country that's been underestimated, Tebogo just proved you don't need a big name to make history. You just need to run faster than anyone else ever has. And here's the kicker. He's only 20. This victory has also sparked renewed interest in the 300-meter event itself. Suddenly, athletes and coaches are revisiting training plans, looking for ways to attack this rarely run distance. Track meets that once ignored the 300 meters are now considering adding it to their programs, all thanks to the spotlight Tebogo brought. His performance didn't just elevate his own name, it revived an entire event. In his home country, the reaction was overwhelming. Streets were filled with celebrations, fans held viewing parties, and even government officials praised his achievement as a national milestone. The story of Letsile Tebogo is just beginning, and if the 300 meters in Pretoria is any indication, we're in for something unforgettable. Watch closely, because the next time he races, history might be rewritten all over again. If this left you speechless, hit like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments which world record do you think Tebogo will break next. At just 21 years old, Letsile Tebogo has rewritten the history books, and he's only getting started. At the 2024 Paris Olympics, the young sprinter from Botswana clocked a blistering 9.86 seconds in the men's 100-meter final, setting a new national record and sending shockwaves through the world of track and field. But the full story of Tebogo's rise is even more incredible than that one number on the clock. Born in Kanye, Botswana, Tebogo showed early signs of speed, often outpacing classmates in schoolyard races. But few could have predicted the meteoric rise that would follow. He burst onto the international scene in 2021, quickly gaining attention for his raw talent, relaxed running style, and an unmistakable air of confidence. By 2022, he was already being called the next Usain Bolt, a title that would come with both praise and immense pressure. While most sprinters peak in their late 20s, Tebogo was already setting records as a teenager. He won back-to-back World U20 Championship golds in 2021 and 2022, and it wasn't long before he made his mark on the senior stage. Still, many wondered if he could hold his own against the world's elite on the biggest stage of all, the Olympics. That question was answered in Paris. In one of the most competitive Olympic 100-meter finals ever recorded, all 8 finalists dipped under 10 seconds. The race was a blur of motion and adrenaline, with Tebogo crossing the line in 6th place, but that doesn't tell the full story. His 9.86-second run wasn't just a personal best. It was a new national record and a historic moment for Botswana. No sprinter from the nation had ever reached these heights before. But Tebogo wasn't done yet. Just days later, he lined up for the 200-meter final, facing off against the very best the world had to offer. What followed shocked everyone. With a flawless curve and an explosive finish, Tebogo surged ahead of the field, crossing the line in 19.46 seconds, a new African record. The crowd erupted. Botswana had its first Olympic gold medalist in the men's 200 meters, and Africa had a new sprint king. As if that wasn't enough, Tebogo anchored Botswana's 4x400-meter relay team to a dramatic silver medal. In a sport often dominated by a handful of countries, his performances injected fresh energy into African sprinting. For years, the continent had excelled in long-distance events, but now it had a new hero on the short track. Behind the scenes, Tebogo's journey hasn't been without its challenges. There were whispers in early 2023 that he might switch allegiance to a larger athletics federation, lured by bigger sponsorship deals and better training facilities. But Tebogo stayed loyal. He remained committed to Botswana, choosing to train at home and invest in the future of the sport within his country. That loyalty paid off. In interviews, Tebogo often credits his coaches, family, and community for keeping him grounded. He's known for his humility off the track, often waving to the crowd and smiling during races, a signature trait that reminds many of Bolt. But when the starting gun fires, he turns into a different person, focused, powerful, and utterly fearless. His social media presence also offers a glimpse into his life. Unlike many athletes who project a polished corporate image, Tebogo keeps things real. He shares behind-the-scenes moments, training clips, and motivational messages that resonate with young fans across Africa and beyond. He's not just a star on the track, he's becoming a voice for the next generation. Despite his success, critics have questioned whether Tebogo can maintain this momentum. Sprinting careers can be brutally short, and the physical toll is enormous. But so far, he's shown a remarkable ability to recover, adapt, and grow stronger with each race. His team is already talking about plans for the 2025 World Championships and beyond. What sets Tebogo apart isn't just his speed, it's the way he runs. Analysts have pointed out his incredibly efficient stride, minimal wasted motion, and uncanny ability to maintain form under pressure. He makes it look effortless, but behind that ease is years of meticulous training, biomechanical analysis, and mental conditioning. And yet, he still feels like a newcomer. That's part of his appeal. Viewers see a young man who's still growing, still learning, and still hungry. Every time he steps on the track, there's a sense that something extraordinary might happen. He brings drama to every heat, electricity to every final. The ripple effects of Tebogo's rise are already being felt across Africa. Track programs in countries like Nigeria, Kenya, and South Africa are looking to replicate Botswana's success. Young athletes are inspired not just by his medals, but by his message, that greatness can come from anywhere. Sponsors have taken note too. Major athletic brands are lining up with endorsement deals, and global media outlets have begun tracking his every move. But Tebogo remains grounded. He's turned down certain offers that didn't align with his values, choosing instead to focus on long-term partnerships that support African sports development. In many ways, Tebogo is more than just an athlete. He's a cultural icon in the making. Schools in Botswana have started implementing sprint-focused programs, naming tracks and stadiums after him. Local brands are creating campaigns celebrating his achievements, and music artists are even referencing him in their lyrics. The Tebogo effect is real, and it's inspiring an entire continent. He's also begun collaborating with charitable organizations aimed at providing sports opportunities to underprivileged youth. By leveraging his fame, he's creating pathways for young talent to emerge from places that were once overlooked. That's the kind of legacy that extends far beyond the finish line.